So we'll get started with it. So yeah, welcome to today's webinar. Thanks for taking the time out of your morning. So today's webinar is going to be on BIM 360 design, and this is Autodesk's cloud solution to design collaboration. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jonathan Reinhardt. My background is as an architectural technologist and working in BIM management as well. And I now work on the side of Autodesk distribution and consultancy as well in the AEC and BIM area within Ireland and the UK. So today's agenda, I'm going to try to get through a lot today. I'll keep the first few slides quite high level, and then I'll get down to the kind of nitty gritty and technical stuff as well. So I'll try to squeeze as much as possible in. It's a bit of an introduction to BIM 360, but it's a bit of a getting started as well. And there is also Autodesk have released a free trial version recently in the last month or two that you're able to get through your reseller. So it's worth having a look at that when you get off this webinar, and you'll be able to give it a try and set up teams. And obviously it's not for commercial use, but it is to be able to test BIM 360 design within your own business or within your own practice as well. So a bit of an agenda. So I'll do a bit of an introduction to collaboration, stuff like that, but then I'll jump into BIM 360 design, and it'll be between a PowerPoint and between a demonstration within the software as well, with some models I have set up there as well. So I'll run through BIM 360, some of the project admin, kind of the back end stuff, creating teams, setting up teams and permissions, stuff like that. And I've set up a secondary persona as well as a separate login with a different email address, just to show you how those permissions affect a different user as well, versus the project admin, for example. I'll then go through some working within the document management module, and I'll explain how document management and design collaboration are linked under the new BIM 360 platform, and then I'll explain uploading Revit files and different types of files and going through your model, and then I'll go into the design collaboration elements of it as well, so setting up your teams and looking at sharing packages and working with different types of files and linking in files and cloud work sharing workflows as well. So just looking at the reason for collaboration, you know, we're seeing a lot more urbanization happening globally. We're seeing BIM mandates happening. Hopefully we'll have one in Ireland soon enough, but we can expect that other mandates are going to affect us anyway. And I suppose with the release of the ISO 19650, hopefully in the next couple of months, that will further drive BIM uptake within Ireland as well. And then looking at distributed project teams as another factor as well, or trend to be able to impact BIM uptake as well, and looking at reasons for cloud collaboration. And I suppose all of these trends lead to a massive explosion of information, and this is created, I suppose, at a higher rate because of technology and higher fidelity than ever before. And I suppose as a result, this leaves us with a problem of having to manage so much information in separate locations, if it's file stores or if it's paper versions. So being able to pull this together in a digital form is hopefully what BIM 360 design can do for your business. And we all know collaboration is a challenge. I've worked in the architecture industry extensively myself for over 13 years on you know, all sorts of projects, small, large, medium, and collaboration is, you know, certainly one of the trickiest things to navigate, and being able to somehow automate or digitize that process to support, I suppose, better building designs and to make projects run smoother is something that new technologies are able to contribute to. So we'll demonstrate some of that today, the collaboration between separate consultants, and I'm going to take say a structural engineer, MEP and architecture model and show you the kind of interactions that various consultants can have with those as well. And then just to look at BIM 360 and see where BIM 360 design sits within that. So at the top we have BIM 360. So BIM 360 is the cloud platform, and then coming off that we have BIM 360 Docs, which is a product, BIM 360 Design, which is the focus of today. Another product is BIM 360 Glue, and then BIM 360 Build as well, and these are all part of the next generation released last April, and they've replaced so Glue is still called Glue obviously, but Build has replaced Field. Similar features, but it's all in a more integrated under one roof of BIM 360, that you can share information between these different products or between these different modules as well. So we went through a webinar a couple of weeks back on BIM 360 Docs, so that was just kind of an introduction and laying out what BIM 360 Docs is, and then the next step up is kind of looking at BIM 360 Design. And then just to see if you were to for example, to purchase one of these four products. So BIM 360 Docs just comes standalone. That's just for document management, storing your files, but it also integrates with Revit as well. And then if you're looking to move into your kind of next phase of collaboration, you're looking at the likes of BIM 360 Design, and this is a far more integrated, collaborative approach to work sharing with your Revit models as well. And all of these products include BIM 360 Docs management, so that sits across all of them. So if you're only using Docs and then you upgrade to Design, you can reuse, you can share your files then from within Docs between all of these products as well. So it's quite a fluid and efficient way of working. So today will be the focus of BIM 360 Design and just looking at the collaboration approach to that. Some of the things I'll run through are the interface within BIM 360 Design, and what we have here at the top is called a swim lane approach. So you can see all those colored dots and different lines represent different companies. At the bottom you have your federated model as well, and I'll run through what the various things mean within that as well. Then we also have, for example, version compare, and being able to compare your different models to different consultants' models, and if changes have been made as well, and when they've been synced to the cloud, and comparing those previous to current versions as well. And just to make note of this, this will be shared in the recording afterwards. So obviously you can have a look back, but just looking at the different status of different what we call the swim lane nodes, and what an empty node represents. And this means that, for example, a package has been shared. I will go into more detail on that in the demonstration. A filled node on another team's line means you've consumed that package. A filled node on your team line means you've shared that package, and I'll go through the various other ones as well within the demonstration. And again, this is the swim lane example, and this is a similar setup to what I'll show today. So MEP, structure and architecture, taking them all as separate companies, and expecting that they are separate consultants as well, and that they're sharing their own models. So also some other examples or other workflows within BIM 360 Design. Once you get your model set up and stuff like that, you're able to then interact with different designers and create work sharing and work sets, and people take ownership of each work set, and you're able to request to make changes. So for example, on the left here you see that one architect wants to move that wall. They don't have ownership of that wall, and therefore they have to place a request to the BIM manager. A request down here in the bottom right, editing request place, then pops up to the BIM manager or to the owner of that work set, and then they can then release that or not, and I'll run through that in the demonstration as well. And just kind of laying out some other kind of workflow principles as well, setting up requesting grants as well. You can see here that grant has been requested, and that message pops back up to the architect that wish to move that particular wall, and they're able to then move that wall as a result. And this can be done remotely or within the same office, or obviously within the same country, or it can even be done globally, and it's all done within the cloud as well. So your model sits in the cloud. Some other features, being able to compare changes, as I showed already, but being able to use this as part of your collaboration workflow. So being able to review those changes and then being able to consume that package and to make that a live package within your BIM 360 design. So you don't necessarily have to accept the changes. You can refuse the changes and not consume that package if you wish. And again, it shows you any changes that have happened. So anything that's been modified, added or removed. You can see, for example, here in the bottom left, you can see a wall has been modified within that model as well from a previous version. And then once you're happy with those changes, so if an engineer or architect has made this change to the wall, you can then accept that as a change that you're happy with, and then you can share that as well. So the BIM manager can then share that package with the rest of the team as well. So looking at some of the other swim lane features, so we can see here we have an architecture package that has been published. It doesn't have a filled circle, therefore it hasn't been consumed. Consumed means it hasn't been released and shared with the rest of the team, and you can have an explore of it and see if any changes have been made to it as well. So I'm just going to jump into the demonstration here. Minimize that. Open up BIM 360. So this is your BIM 360 interface. So I've set up a test project here, as you can see, and I'm just going to show you briefly how to set up a project as well. So within the top left here, you have your 9 dots, or your project home. And this is where you will see any modules that you have. So if you have BIM 360 Build or BIM 360 Docs, they will also appear here. Or if you have Glue, you'll see Model Coordination show up here. But just for the purpose of today, I'm only showing it in relation to Design Collaboration, or BIM 360 Design, which falls under the Design Collaboration module here. So I'm just going to show you how to set up a new project. So for example, so Daytech Solutions, that's, for example, that's the name of my company. It could be, the name of your own company is where you will have that as well. And then you can also change between accounts as well if you sit between a number of accounts. So I'm just going to jump in here. I'm going to go into Account Admin. Up, and I'm going to set up a new project just to show you how to set one up. So here we have all our projects, our entire project directory within here. So this is for our particular company. So I'm just going to click Add, set up a project. You can call this name whatever you want. I'm just going to call this Test Project 2 just for the purpose of today. Cap locks on. Test Project 2. Here. You're required to select a project type. I'm just going to call it an office. You can put in the value euro. It has every different currency there as well. I'm just going to call this 5 million. Get to zeros. That's 5 million, I think. 5 million. You can select the contract type if you wish. This is off reporting data. You don't have to fill out all of this information. Set your project dates as well if you want. April of next year. Assign it to a business unit as well. If this is in a large company, you can use this for reporting within your ERP system if you wish. We only have, say, civil and retail set up for the purposes of this demonstration. I'm just going to hit save and continue. So this then brings me up to ask me what services I want to activate in this. So this is just initially setting up your project. So I just want to activate document management. So I can select a previous project template and it will create all those folders. I'm actually going to select test project. That was the previous one, test project 1. And I'm just going to make myself as the administrator here. So I'm just going to click save on that. You can see it's inactive and now that is activating it. Takes a second. And that's now active, and that will also send me an email through as well to say that I've been assigned as project administrator. And then I'm going to look for the design collaboration tool or module as well. Also going to assign myself to that as administrator. Just going to click save. And you can see the other inactive ones here are other parts of other products as well, part of glue, part of field or build as well, and the project management as well. So we have design collaboration and we have document management set up here. So I'm just going to click finish. So that's the services now activated for that project. So I'm just going to go into the project here. So this is the project that's being set up. So I'm just going to assign some project administrators to this as well. And I suppose having a project administrator is, quite essential and can perform, I suppose, a number of tasks. And this can include organizing the project folders, invite project members. They can also set folder permissions, and they can also manage files as well. And a project can have more than one administrator if you wish as well. So for example, if you're collaborating across multiple companies on a project, each company could act as a smaller team within the larger project team, and they can have a project administrator. So typically their project or BIM manager who can share their team's updates to the larger project team. So I'm just going to assign a project administrator here. Or you post another project administrator here. So I'm just going to assign some more project members within here as well. So I'm just going to add Joe Blogs, for example, which is another email address I have set up. It's going to also add them, set them as the architect. It's going to add them to the project. Now I want to go back and I want to set up my folders within this as well. So I'm just going to go back into the document management tab. You can see they're now active on this project. So all these folders have been set up from a previous, because they've copied from my template project, and I'm just going to delete them, for example, just to show you how to go about setting up the folders and how you should set them up. So by default, BIM 360 will have set up plans. That's where any of your plans go, and project files is where everything else from your project goes. So I'm just going to set up, I'm going to add a subfolder. I'm going to call it architecture. Set another one for MEP. So these can be per company or per discipline, whatever way you prefer to set them up. So structure. Oh, I spelled that. So lovely. Go back and fix your own mistakes. Structure. Now I have to create teams, so I have to assign teams to each of those folders as well, and this is to do with the permission and access rights as well. So I'm going to go back into the project admin. And then under design collaboration, so under here you want to set up your team, so you can do this by company or by discipline as well. So I'm just going to go add team, and it gives you a couple of options here. So you can just add teams as they appear in the design collaboration timeline and team panel, put their names in there, and it tells you where the default location for newly added teams is directly within project files. But because I've already created folders to represent teams, I can select those folders. So these are the folders, subfolders I just initially created. So I'm going to create one for each team. So that's architecture created. Do the same again for MEP. Close, I'm going to add then structures as well. Structures. So now I want to add members to each of these teams. So you can see by default on the right hand side here, there's one member in each, and that member is me because I've been set as the project administrator. I've inherited the rights to sit in all of those projects. So just for structure, I'm going to add somebody else in there. So I'm just going to add in Joe Blogs. I'm going to add him in. He just has view and edit rights. I'm going to click add. So I'm only adding him to the structural team. We can see that he just has view and edit, and I have view, edit, and share rights, and these are inherited because I am a project admin, and it tells you how many members in each of those teams you also have as well. So I'm just going to go back into services here. So I need to make sure that all of my members have access to each of those modules. So Joe Blogs, we can see he's not a project administrator. I can make him one here if I want, but I don't want to. I'm going to keep myself as the BIM manager. I'll just set my role as BIM manager as well, just so it's defined in there. And you can see because I have the yellow cog or setting sign on each one, that means I'm an admin. And we can see that Joe Blogs is just a member of each is a member of each document management and just a member of design collaboration module. So they don't have the rights that I have as well. So I can go back and change the access that those guys have as well. So for example, I can go back into these members. If I wish to go back, I can remove them as well, and I can also change their access rights to view only as well if that's all they want. But I want to set them to view edit because he's working on the project as well. So I'm just going to log in. I've actually logged in as Joe Blogs here. We'll just see if this has set up. I'm just going to refresh this. So this is me logged in within another browser as a different consultant. So I'm just going to go in. So test project 2 is now assigned to me. So I can now see document management. I can go in and see what folder structure I have access to here. Just takes a second. So you can see here that I've access to a shared folder, architecture MEP structure. So that's just a share folder. And I also have access to the structure, and there's consumed in there that is created automatically by BIM 360. And I'll go with that a bit further. But you can see that I don't have access to the main architecture or the main MEP folder. I'm just going to put these side by side just to show you the two different access that we have here. So we're effectively two different people, one on the left, one on the right. So you can see as project administrator on the left hand side, I have access to all of these folders, but you can see on the right hand side, he only has access to structure. So that's controlling the permissions a bit further. So just to set that out. You can also organize the permission levels by folder as well on this side as well. You can just click permissions and you can set the different access that whoever is part of that folder, part of that team that
is assigned to that folder, you can set the different access permissions there as well. So I'll go into the structure, for example, we can see Joe Blogs is assigned, and you can see they don't have control, full control access at all. I can also take off edit access from them there as well, and so on and so forth. And that will obviously impact when they log into what they have access in here as well. So that's why the shared folder is completely separate. Obviously it's shared between everybody. And then structure is only visible to project administrator and obviously the structural engineer themselves as well. So I'm just going to show you how we might upload. I'm going to start with just a CAD drawing, for example, and then we'll move on to looking at getting in Revit files as well. So I'm just going to go back to my folders here. So I'm just going to hover over my architecture. I'm going to go to the three dots at the end. Sorry, I want to come out of document management, out of access. Just want to go back to the main root folder of architecture. So under project files, under architecture, I want to upload files, for example. So I'm just going to show you how you might upload CAD files. So these can also be done from within Revit through linking as well, but I'm just going to show you can also bring up PDFs as well, and you just select them, open, pick a file. Let's pick a PDF, for example, and the DWG, and they can upload up to that folder as well. And again, the structural guy won't have access to this folder unless I move it into the shared location in here, which is where all of your information that you want to be seen can be stored as well once you move it into that location. So now I'm just going to jump into I'm going to move away from this project, and I'm just going to jump into the project that I had set up earlier, just to show you once the project has moved along as well. So this is original test project, similar setup to the one I've just set up, but just I've already set up a couple of models in here as well. So within Revit, the way to upload a model from within the user interface is you just click the Collaborate tab. That's under Collaborate, and just Collaborate where it says Manage Collaboration, and then you come up with two options here. So you've within your network, which is just Revit work sharing, but what we want to choose is in BIM 360 document management. So that's what sends it to BIM 360 design, and that's the link between BIM 360 design and Revit, and document management sits in the middle of those. So you just click OK, that uploads. I'm not going to do it right now because I have one set up already, and I'll set up the one, open up the one that I have already, and then your model. You select your model, that then uploads into here. You can see it here, that's the 5670-A for architecture, and I've had 4 version updates of that in here as well. And just to show you that you are able to view PDF drawings in here as well. So this is a PDF file, so frozen drawing. And you can also do drawing compare on this as well. Now I don't have a version 2 uploaded, but if I had a version 2, and this is between PDFs, remember, I could select version 2 and the different changes will highlight in a different color on the PDF drawing as well. So just to show you, you can also add markups, take measurements within this as well. I'm not going to calibrate it now. You can also take measurements, click on that and we'll bring up your measurement. I can set that to millimeters. Just calibrating. But you can also add comments or issues to that as well. So this is just for PDF drawings. So for example, I want to make a markup. I want to draw, say for example, I want to put a markup around this lift shaft. I want to click done. And then you can see this saves up into the markups, and then anybody else is able to access this PDF markup as well. I can also add further, I might want to add standard documents or specification documents to that as well. I can also add comments to it. And you can see this is private or it can be published. So I want to publish it, I want to share it with the rest of the team.
So this is purely just looking at document management before you've fully moved into your Revit model collaboration. This is just between PDFs, which is also quite beneficial. You can also create issues on those PDFs, and your different sheets and views will also appear there as well, and your different versions, as I already said. So I'm just going to X out of this for a minute. And the same with CAD drawings as well. You're able to access them and view them as well, take measurements, compare versions as well, and you're also able to add comments and add markups as well, the similar way we did for the PDFs. This is one I prepared earlier, and this is just highlighting an area. As soon as I highlighted that area, it created a markup automatically, and then somebody logs into this again. I can publish that. Publish. If you want to publish private markup, that's fine. Publish that markup. Somebody can then inspect that. You can also add comments to that as well. So I'm just going to go back into Revit to show you again how I got this Revit model up. So I'd set it up, sent it to the cloud and document management collaboration, and then the toolbar changes. You can see you have work sets, editing requests, and you have synchronization options as well. So I'm just going to show you the publish settings in here, and this is where sets comes into it as well. So this sets ties into when you're publishing a package within Revit. So when you set up a new package in Revit, it includes these sets as well. So you might have a coordination set, a 3D view set, and this allows you to compare changes within those different views as well. So if any changes occurred either in any of these 3D views or within these sets, or I can upload every single drawing if I want, but you don't always want to, because it's just you've a lot of draft drawings and you know, drawing only with sheets without drawings on them. You don't want to publish that stuff as well. You only want to publish whatever you have here. So it might just be your sheets, so ground floor, second floor, and then your particular drawings as well. And you can also create new sets if you wish. So it might only be 3D views that you want to create in here. You set that up. So I'm just going to save and close that. So this is to do with consuming your packages when you're collaborating as well. So once you've sent that up to the cloud, you save it into your collaboration file. Then each consultant will do that with their structural model, with their mechanical model as well, and all of those will be stored in the cloud. And this then allows you to access this 3D model within document management as well, and then further to take it into BIM 360 design as well. So I'm just going to see if I can compare the function on this. The 3D modeling function compare tool is quite handy as well. So I'm just going to compare. I haven't set up the compare function within this, but you can also do it within 3D models. There we are there. Compare. It might just take a second to load. So we can see here changes have occurred within this model. So I've changed the stairs. I deleted that bulkhead wall there as well. And it brings up a whole list of things that have been modified, removed, or if you've added anything, walls or whatever. And you can filter through all of that different information as well. And you can also download this information as well to a CSV file. So you might want to tie this in with your bill of quantities or bill of materials as well. And it tells you what type of modification as well, and you can see what the relation of that to information within your Revit model is as well. So that's looking at comparing changes. So what about moving into BIM 360 design itself, into the collaboration side of things? You've got your models into the cloud, you want to get them into the design collaboration module. So I'm just going to click into the design collaboration module. So these are very closely interlinked. That's why we cover the document management stuff as well. And you can see here we have the swim lane. So we have MEP, structure, and architecture. So because I'm an administrator for all of these, I have access to all three of them. So I'm the BIM manager or BIM coordinator. But if I'm just a structural guy, just going to go into my test project and show you from this other persona. If I only have certain access, I'll only be viewing the structural side of things there. So I'm just going to jump into my design collaboration, two different personas. So you can see here that I only have access to the structural tab, and I can't make any changes to the architecture tab either, and I don't have access to the MEP tab as well. So the architecture tab just allows me to see what has been published by this filled dot along here, and you can see there's another filled dot on the right hand side. So that's what the structural engineer is seeing. So back to the BIM manager in here. Okay, what does he need to do with his model? He needs to share his models with the structural engineer. So how does he go about doing that? So I want to share a package so I can see here. Sorry, I'll just move that off my screen. So we can see here we've got 4 different dots. So this is me this morning just doing up some test models, putting them up. So this one has been consumed by architecture. So you can see here the architecture team, that's the view I'm in, and all of these sets that I published from within BIM 360 document management using Revit. So from published settings, all the sets that I sent up, they're now visible within here as well. And this is what allows me to create the collaboration between the two consultants. So we've all these different packages. So we've one here that I didn't consume, just I obviously wasn't happy with what I saw or the changes. We've another one here that occurred also on the 24th, and you can see this package is titled Architecture 4. I did consume that, and here I have one that's been sent to me, but I haven't shared it with the rest of the team yet. So I'm just going to create a new package. I can actually click into that. And that can show me that the 3 sets have been updated as well, and also the model has been updated as well. So I haven't shared that with anyone. I'm the only one that can view this. So I want to now create a new package. So I want to select these same sets again, and this shares these sets with the rest of the team as well. So let's click save. So in this one, I've made some changes to the doors and deleted some information. And this is where, if there were any changes occurring between the two models, this is where they'll appear in different colors, similar to in Document Manager. So now I want to share that model so that it's with the rest of the team. So you can see here it's a dotted circle, not filled. I'm just going to leave this and call architecture model number 6. You can put in comments here. You can call it external door changes, and this just notifies it to anyone. Identifies what are the main changes or the revision changes of this particular version. So that package has now been shared, and you can see that filled dot has appeared here. So I'm going to assume myself as the structural guy again. I'm going to jump in as a structure. So on the structural tab, we can see, because it's highlighted here, and we can see structure is here as well. So we can see that the architect has shared all of these models. So okay, so they've shared a model, and because it's not a filled circle, it means that I, as the structural engineer, have not consumed that model yet. So by consuming means you haven't reviewed it and you haven't accepted those changes yet. So I'm just going to click into that. So you're able to then explore that model, see what changes have occurred using the version compare. And if you're happy with the changes, you can view show changes as well, investigate what has been changed, what hasn't, and you can then consume that as a change. So once I consume that, that means I've accepted that model. So you're about to consume this package, and this will bring it into your team space and update any Revit links your team may have referenced to models in this space. So I'm just going to click consume. So as a structural engineer, this means I've accepted those changes from the architect. So I'm just going to let that update. I'm just going to jump back into document management here, and just to show you where the models have been placed. I'm going to assume I'm the structural engineer again, not to confuse people. Back into document management. So you can see here, as structural engineer, I only have access to that structural folder, and this is what I've consumed. So consumed only sits within what you have access to. It doesn't entirely share it with the rest of the team. So I've consumed the architecture model. So this then allows me to go in and view that model as well. And again, I can compare changes and see if I want to view changes as well. So this is just consumed within me. So consuming a package means that you've brought a team's package into your environment. It's not to own it or take responsibility for it, but to see it combined with your own work and all of the other teams as well. So Internet Explorer, I'm just going to debug. Jump back into this one. Internet Explorer doesn't seem to like it. Chrome seems to handle it quite well though. So within the consumed folder in architecture, I haven't consumed any structural model whatsoever. But the structural folder has, the structural engineer has consumed it. Close that, sorry. So as the architect, I want to consume the structural engineer's model. So I'm going to go back into design collaboration. So as a structural engineer, I want to create a new package. So there's my model there. So I want to share this with the rest of the team. I want to click save, select my work sets, click save, structural model, and I'm going to click share. Structure tree. So this is just the initial structural package being shared. And we can see that the structural package is now available here. So then, as the architect, I want to then view that model. So you can see that the package changed color from white to solid color there, and that indicates that the architectural team has now consumed that package or that structural package. So back into document management, we can see consumed in here. Just takes a second to update. But we can see, for example, from the architectural model that this is where the structural engineer will store the model that they have linked into their Revit model. So if I'm as the structural engineer, I'm just going to close this. Again, behave as the structural engineer. I'm just going to open this. This is my structural model. This resides in the cloud, we can see, because it has the connectivity icon beside it. I can then link in my Revit model. I want to link in the architect's model as the structural engineer. So within BIM 360, I'm just going to show you, this is how you access the links. I want to get into test project. I'm the structural engineer. I only have access to the test project. Into my project files. I want to then link in the architectural model that I've consumed. Just going to click open. Hopefully my coordinates are set up here. Take a second. So that's just linking in the folder, that the file or model that we've consumed, and allows us to then model our structure around that as well. And we can see there it's come in. You can see there you have an architecture and you have a structural model as well. Discipline set to structural coordination, and we can see it's brought in the architectural model there as well. Let's set it to architecture. See if there's any hidden items. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff turned off. But that's just the linked in architectural model now, and you can see all that as a structural engineer. So I can make a change as a structural engineer. I'm going to delete these trusses, for example. Then I want to sync that change back to the cloud. So I'm just going to synchronize now. This is going to push those changes back up into the cloud. And some people will tell me crazy. I'm crazy. I'm trying this live, but I like to show that once you have your model up in the cloud, so that particular Revit model took about 5 minutes to upload initially, and you can see there the changes I made. So it uses the Revit accelerator, the cloud accelerator. So it only uploads the delta changes. So it will only upload changes that I've made rather than uploading the entire model again. That's why it took such about 30 seconds, quite a short time there. So we can see as a structural engineer, that model has been updated to version 2 within here as well. And then within design collaboration, hopefully the changes have come through. And we can see as a structure as well, there's been another package updated as well. So that's just the changes that I uploaded there. So I can see as the architect, okay, structural engineer has updated a package. I haven't consumed it yet. I want to consume it. I go in and explore that, see what changes have been made. Okay, I'm happy with those changes, or I'm not happy with those changes for whatever reason. I can, put a phone call, send an email to them if I want to check something else, and then I consume that package as well. So I'm going to share it again. So this is another change, another version that I've consumed. And you can see it's changed to a solid color there as well. So as a structural, or as the architecture, that structural package has been updated within my model as well. So come back into document management. Consumed structural folder, and there's our consumed structural file. So as the architect, I can go now back into Revit. I can link in that updated file, or I can sync the changes. If changes have been made to an architectural model, I can then reload latest as a structural engineer. If a wall's been deleted, I can reload latest, and that will update within here as well. So I'll leave it there for now to take any questions. Again, this has been recorded. It will be shared afterwards. I'll take any questions now, and I hope I covered enough for you there. I know it was a bit of a whirlwind jumping between two personas, but hopefully I was able to communicate the various workflows between different disciplines as well. So Internet Explorer doesn't work great, but Google Chrome I've never had any issues with at all. So thank you very much. Any questions, just fire them through at the end. There's a chat box there. Don't see any questions coming through. That's fair enough. Hopefully I've covered everything. I'll just do a little recap then. I know that the package is something to really get your head around. So just to be able to if you make yourself aware of the different statuses of each of the different nodes and the different numbers and field badges when you're creating and sharing packages or consuming packages as well. And then also just being aware of the swim lane as well, as they call it, and just being able to keep an eye on that for any updates to your model. I would recommend that, you know, it's obviously updates or sharing of packages is done at an agreed time or an agreed day, like either once a week, once a day between consultants, but agreeing that in your BIM execution plan before a project is probably the best way to go about that. I would recommend, just so there's not ad hoc updates happening. If they're agreed times, agreed dates, then you know when to check it, and then that's all. It's better managed in that respect as well. And again, setting up work sets is another great way to be able to control access and changes to a model as well, and being able to do that between design companies and design consultants, and just being able to manage that in quite a streamlined way is a handy way of setting up work sets. And just to show you setting up a work set, work sets are set up within Revit. So once you upload your model to the cloud, you can select work sets. And you can set up various different work sets here. So you might set up one for structure. So I have ownership of that. You can also assign ownership of that to somebody else, or somebody else can request access. So if somebody else opens up the structural model either within my company and they want to make a change to it, a request will come through to me because it's assigned to me there as well. So I'll make that the active work set. And then under here, this is where all your work sets come in under as well. Any editing requests, any changes that happen to move anything to make changes to other people's work sets, all of those will come in here, and if you can deny, retract them or grant them, and they can all be recorded in here as well.